Ready, hot!
Today's exciting. It's kind of like the first day of putting your team together, moving forward. Getting our guys in place or getting the guys we feel like can help us, become a better team and certainly a better defense. I thought, as the year went on, I thought our defense started to deteriorate a little bit towards the end of the year, and obviously we played better offensive teams at the end of the year, and just need to try to find some more playmakers within our defense. Put our players in better position to make plays, and certainly that is our responsibility, and to continue to recruit and develop players within our system that that'll enable us to play better down the stretch. And we didn't the last 4 or 5 games. I think we were number one in total defense through maybe 8 weeks, and then towards the end of the year we gave up just way too many points, way too many yards. Even as good as those teams were, we need to be better equipped to handle those styles of offenses, and certainly I think this group of players will help us move forward. With our defense, there's been a lot of speculation on, what style of defense and what we'll do, and people hear one thing and run with it. I hear all this speculation. You guys know what we're doing defensively before I really know what we're doing. So I heard that we changed our defense. I think that's been out there, that we're going to a 3-4. Again, we're going to do what's best for our team and our players, and having the ability to play better. And that's what we need to do if we want to compete for more championships, here at Oklahoma, and that's falls on our responsibility. So with that, I'm pleased with when you look at our class, developing some of those playmakers up front was a huge area for us to improve. To develop some more playmakers up front. We signed, I believe, 5 or 6 defensive linemen. So that's, I think those guys are very athletic. I think they have a chance to make us put more speed on the field. We shrunk down a couple of our defensive linemen to be better equipped to play more of a speed game that we see. We don't see tight ends from the majority of the teams we play in this league. When you look at Baylor, West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, we saw in those teams over 80% of no tight ends in the game, or no tight ends with 2 backs. So again, we have to adjust to what we see in this league, and we feel like we addressed a lot of those issues with our defensive line and certainly our secondary guys. It's one of our strongest groups of secondary players. And the 2 linebackers give us a lot of flexibility, 2 big, fast, physical guys that can play in space. So, that was what our intentions were going in, and I feel like when the day is done today, we'll be in great position to move forward. And that's to say, on paper, who knows how all these kids are going to react once they get here to the disciplines and the structure and all of that it takes to be a great player at this level. But our hope is that when we went into this recruiting season, for me personally, was to recruit good, strong kids of character and toughness that it takes to compete, at the very highest level, and can take the rigors that come with the pressures of playing at Oklahoma. And we feel like we did that.
You hit the ground running, and you're signing guys from both coasts, Florida and California. Can you just talk about your experience of getting back out there recruiting for Oklahoma, and were you surprised at how receptive guys were from the beginning?
Well, it's very difficult to recruit. We do a lot of individual position group recruiting. For me, my responsibilities with my players and our team here, and then to travel was very difficult. But again, we were able to get in on kids that were committed to Oklahoma from the get-go, and really didn't waver one bit. And all the players that I recruited personally as a defensive back coach and secondary coach. So, it's hard. The travel is hard. It isn't ideal, but you have to get the best players. The two safeties we got are both big and physical and could cover a lot of ground. So, again, as it turned out, that's what we had to do. Ideally, we would like to stay within a 3 or 4 hour radius of our university. And, being behind, I think we're in better position now, a year down the road, than we were last year at this time. And that's part of the things that happen when you come in new and try to create your own secondary or defense. And I feel like we've caught up in a hurry. But I couldn't be more pleased when this group finalizes the day. This will be as complete a group of secondary guys that I've ever been associated with. When you look at the skill level, you look at their size, their speed, their range, their character. This is a very complete group of players that will contest for playing time. Let's get one thing clear. People have spoken about promising kids positions. I think that's ludicrous that anyone would speculate that I would ever do that. I've never done that in all the years of coaching, promised a kid a position. You earn everything you get here at the University of Oklahoma. And, if a kid misspoke or misinterpreted, I think that's just, again, that falls on, people, I think, preying on young players and kids maybe not knowing how to handle the situation that well. But I think you guys know me well enough that I would never promise anybody a starting position. And these guys will all earn their way through the process of coming in here in the summer and earning their playing time.
It does seem like your guys coming in at your position all have a chance to contribute right away. Is that how you see it?
Well, they're strong players. They're strong character guys. They're strong physically gifted players, and they have the maturity that you need to play at this level early. So, but that's on paper. That's what we know. That's not going through the rigors of having to do all the disciplines that it takes to play day in and day out. But I feel very confident in all of those players.
You see Stanbon more as a cornerback, or is he?
Yes, he's he should be listed as a cornerback. Everyone talks about he's an athlete. I mean, he's a corner. He's a terrific young man and a terrific player. I think the future's unlimited for him. He's a guy that will push hard for playing time as well. I think all these guys will.
I know I saw Dakota Austin here over the summer in your camps, and you got to look at him. Talk about that late offer there, and I know it spurred a lot of rumors that you might be losing guys, or Gary Simon or whatever. But
regardless of who we have or who we don't have, and I can't project 6 months down the road. We would never bring a player in here that we didn't feel like made our team better, made our position better. And anyone recruited Dakota Austin, I saw in person with my own eyes. I know what he can do physically, with his skill set. Obviously, he's not as big, he's not as as thick as some of the other guys we recruited. But that he's grown. He's 6 foot. He's slender, but again, he plays a very physical game for a corner that's not that physically structured, as gifted as he's going to be once he gets in our program. So again, once I saw him, once I started to recruit the young man, I really started to get a good feeling towards him. I think he has a lot to prove to a lot of people that passed on him, and sometimes that's good to get guys like that. I think he has an edge. I think Lancaster has a terrific program, and I think he wants to be here. And that's important, that you want guys that want to be here and want to compete and aren't scared of it. And certainly he was, he embraced all of that, and that just gets me more excited about him and what he wants to prove here at Oklahoma. So he's a very willing and very caring young man that I'm just glad things worked out for him and worked out for us.
You referenced earlier that you'd heard that you're changing defenses. Does that mean that you're not changing defenses, or does that mean you haven't decided whether you're changing defenses?
We want to develop flexibility within our defense, a little more flexible than we were a year ago. There's things I thought we did well. We have to go through and critique the whole season as a whole, but I know I wasn't very comfortable with the way it ended. The last 4 or 5 games were troublesome, but those teams gave a lot of people trouble. They average teams that are averaging 500-600 yards a game of offense. So we just have to find a better way to play better more consistently, and that's really what we judge ourselves on, are going up against the best, and that's not good enough right now. When we go up against the best, we weren't at our best, and we need to be better at stopping teams like Oklahoma State, certainly Baylor, the elite teams that Texas A&M that know how to work their offenses. We have to become more diverse, and that's what we'll attempt to do throughout the spring and summer to gain some flexibility with our defense.
So not necessarily that you're going to build your defense around this 3-4, but
Maybe have the ability to do that if you needed to during the
Well,
season.
I think you have to do what your personnel dictates too. We have to be flexible as coaches, and I do, and all our defensive staff have to do, and develop to the strengths of our players. And again, I feel like our linebackers is a very strong group of players. It's not comfortable for me sitting all those guys all the time. That's not a comfortable feeling. Playing with, when you have 4 wide receivers in the game all the time, necessarily playing with 6 defensive backs, and that's what you see in the NFL every time you turn the TV on. If they got 4 wides in there, there's 6 DBs in the game at all times. No linebacker can match up with any skill guy unless you're playing some kind of zone concept. So it limits some of your flexibility, and that's where we have to find a balance, I think, with our team.
Do you find that after talking to linebackers a lot this year, and I know a lot of things happening before you guys started playing, but that you removed linebackers from playing as much, you kind of have to rebuild that reputation a little bit, maybe with Frank Shannon and Corey Nelson this year, to get back in some of those homes?
Well, they're playing in space the whole game. Yeah, I mean, it's the league that dictates that. It's not us necessarily. Now, can we play with 2 linebackers more? Certainly, we can. Now, if you do that, that's going to limit your, you can't match a linebacker up on a skill guy, so what do you got to do then? You either got to blitz him and play zone or some kind of fire zone or what? You can't play. It takes our man concepts out of the game, if that makes sense to you. In a lot of cases, it just creates, we can create more of a camouflage of what we're doing when we can put 6 DBs, that match up on the skill. So, again, it's a balance in finding some flexibility within our defense. That's a compromise.
It sounded like, I heard you talk a little bit this morning, but it sounded like you were saying that striker kind of fits in with what you guys want to do with linebackers moving forward.
Well, they're some of the best athletes we have on our football team. Corey Nelson, Frank Shannon, Aaron Franklin, Eric Stryker. I mean, these guys are all these guys can all play, and we have to give them a chance to play, and that's what we want to do too, and not eliminate them from. We're playing Baylor, and they're in 4 wides the whole game, or 3 wides the whole game. What do it's just I can't dictate what West Virginia's going to come out in 5 wides the whole game. I mean, that's teams. That was what happened to us the whole last third of the season, and we just have to find better ways to. Compromise between what we want to do and getting the best players on the field.
You bring in 2 linebackers that have I think Dominique was being recruited elsewhere as a safety, guys who can be pretty versatile. Are those the kind of linebackers you're going to have moving forward with these offenses?
Well, if you're not finding people that are in two tight ends and want to smash you, then yeah, I think you have to. Guys that can play a space game can cover a lot of ground in this league. You have to be very athletic and very mobile, and that's what you find. And having backers that can do all that is tough. So the more athletic they are, the better opportunities they're going to have, and gives us more flexibility for sure.
You see those guys as guys that could come right in and compete for playing time?
These guys they'll all play, in some capacity. A lot of these guys, whether special teams or give us depth, at the linebacker position. So.
Talk about DJ Ward a little bit. I mean, just a unique situation with him missing high school, but he's going to be in here for the spring.
Well, again, DJ, that was unfortunate. How things play out when you transfer, and I don't get into all the complications that came with that. But again, he's here. He's going to play for us. I think he looks better than he ever has. He's probably 255 pounds right now. That was disappointing that he lost, but hopefully he can gain that back by participating here in the spring, and hopefully that's what happens. And if he does, then I believe he'll get caught up immediately.
One more, or we're good?
Could you talk about Jordan Evans? You get a hometown kid and a legacy. It's pretty unique.
Well, again, it's another, guy that I don't know if they're late bloomers or, whatever, late in developing. But, boy, this kid came on. We knew about him in camp, had him in camp, did some outstanding drill work. And then it's interesting. I recruit in Tulsa and some of the areas, and I asked every coach, what they thought. And it's amazing what high praise everybody had for him as a player and as a person, and certainly being legacy, that's pretty special. So I think we did great job in state here, getting the kids that really can help us in a lot of different ways and want to be in Oklahoma and be part of this great tradition. And that's why the Oklahoma kids are so important, because they've grown up here in this environment. This is what Oklahoma's all about, and certainly getting a local kid is, and it's not, again, it's a player of high quality too. That's the thing I think people misunderstand. We take players that make us better, and I certainly know that Jordan will make our defense and make our linebacker core even stronger than it is.